The paparazzi, the royal princes, speak out over the death of their mother as the 20th anniversary approaches.
I think one of the hardest things to come to terms with is the fact that the people that chased her into the tunnel were the same people that were taking photographs of her while she was still dying on the back seat of the car.
Anti-Trump protesters clashed with police at a rally in Phoenix as the president says his response to the violence in Charlottesville was perfect. At least 3 people are killed in Typhoon Hato, which slams into Hong Kong and South China. Plus, a headless torso found on a beach near Copenhagen is confirmed as a missing Swedish journalist. And England's record goal scorer Wayne Rooney retires from international football. Good afternoon. The Prime Minister has insisted that Britain will take back control of its laws after being accused of a U-turn on axing links with the European Courts of Justice. The PM was speaking shortly before the government published a paper that set out the government's position on a new legal framework for Britain's future relationship with the EU.
What is absolutely clear is, as I made clear in that speech, I've made clear ever since, when we leave the European Union, we will be leaving the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice. What we will be able to do is to make our own laws. Parliament will make our laws. It is British judges who will interpret those laws, and it will be the British Supreme Court that will be the ultimate arbiter of those laws. We will take back control of our laws.
Well, in response to Theresa May's comments, Labour MP Chuka Umunna said the document was yet another example of the government backtracking from its earlier promises. The Prime Minister said she's not backtracking. Chuka Umunna clearly thinks that she is.
Well, it's perhaps best put by Lord Adonis, the Labour peer, who said it's the government's position is a climb down camouflaged in jingoistic rhetoric. They're still using the Leave slogan, taking back control. But in fact, the document published by David Davis today talks about ending, quotes, direct jurisdiction. And there is the acceptance that some rulings after Brexit in a transition period will still have some weight in this country. Now, you compare what the government is saying now with what Theresa May said both in her Lancaster House speech on Brexit in January and her Tory conference speech last year. There does appear to be a climb down as politicians like Sir Keir Starmer for Labour and Sir Vince Cable for the Lib Dems have claimed. Back in January, in the Lancaster House speech, she used that phrase, taking back control, bring to an end the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice. We will not have truly left the EU if we're not in control of our own laws. At the Tory party conference, you talked about laws made in Brussels. The authority of EU law in this country will be ended forever. Now, the Justice Minister, Dominic Raab, rather let the cat out of the bag a little bit this morning when he talked about keeping half an eye on the rulings of the European Court of Justice. Guy Verhofstadt, the arch-federalist of the European Parliament, has tweeted in response to that, UK Gov wants to keep half an eye on the ECJ rulings. EP, that's European. We've had today yet another briefing document from the government. The Prime Minister today visited a bus factory in Guildford. You might say that these briefing papers are a bit like buses. You wait
much.
Backseat, and those people that caused the accident, instead of helping, were taking photographs of her dying on the back seat. And then those photographs made their way back to news desks in this country.
An inquest found that Diana and Dodi were unlawfully killed due to gross negligence of the driver Henri Paul, who'd been drinking, and the paparazzi who were following the car that night. In a Sky documentary, an American came to mourn in private.
When you have something so traumatic as the death of your mother when you're 15, as very sadly many people have experienced, and no one wants to.
Former home at the Kensington Palace this afternoon. Both the princes are speaking.
And I think you can hear the emotion in both of their voices as they are retelling the moments, the days and the weeks after their mother's death. And indeed, here at Kensington Palace, where she lived, you'll remember at the day when people heard the news that she died, the flowers, the tributes started pouring in, and a sea of